What is up, guys, and welcome back to the Sweat It Out podcast. Today, we have an amazing individual with a ton of experience coming in the entrepreneurial world. He's a CEO of Real Estate Worldwide. He is a serial entrepreneur. He is helping entrepreneurs who want to turn their hustle into a real-life business. Please help me welcome Kent Clothier. What's up, brother?
What's up, man?
Thanks for coming on. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, man. My pleasure, man. Happy to be here.
Really do, my brother. So how you been, man? How's it going? I know we were talking off the podcast. You're out there in California. Some nice weather.
Yeah, all good. No complaints. I mean, all things considered, based on what's going on in the world, I'll take what I got going on every day of the week.
Yeah, I can't blame you there, man. California is a beautiful place to be. Let's dive right in. How did you get started in real estate? How did you get started in your entrepreneurial journey? And we'll take it from there.
Yeah, man, I got, I was really fortunate because I was raised in a entrepreneurial family. A lot of people don't have that benefit, but my father was a hustler as long as I could ever remember. He was in the grocery industry, and he owned convenience stores and grocery stores the entire time I was growing up. And then when I was about 17, we kind of took a different spin on the grocery industry. He had sold off his stores, and we started what is now called an arbitrage business. Back then it was called diverting. Basically, we figured out a way that we could go and buy and sell truckloads of groceries. For instance, anything that's in a grocery store, call it Maxwell House coffee, toilet paper, you name it. There's 40,000 items in a grocery store. So we figured out that the manufacturers of every single one of those items sells things, believe it or not, sells that item for one price in one market, like down in Miami, and it is a completely different price in San Diego. Exact same item, different prices. And I'm talking substantially different prices. And so we figured out that we could go out and buy it in one market where it was being sold at a discount, and then we could turn around and mark it up, put it on a truck, and ship it all the way across the country and sell it for significantly higher prices and make a ton of money doing it. And so we started doing that when I was 17. And by the time I was 23, I was managing a $50 million a year business. And
wow, unbelievable.
28, we were doing, my dad had retired, and we had sold the company to another company down in your neck of the woods, down in Boca Raton, Florida. So I moved down to Boca Raton, and at 27, took over an $800 million a year company and turned it into $1.8 billion. Seventh largest privately held company in the state of Florida.
Amazing.
Still exists today. A company called Purity Wholesale Grocers.
And how was that for you? Being so young, about our age. We're 28.
I didn't know any different, man. It was it's crazy, because I'm 50 years old now. So when I look back, I'm like, man, holy crap, what the hell were they thinking? But believe it or not, to me, it seemed perfectly logical and perfectly normal. I don't know why. I just had always been an entrepreneur. I'd been groomed for it my entire life. And so it made logical sense to me. I didn't even question it, that I should be running this company and doing what I did best. And it took off. It worked, man. I mean, we were crushing the game, and everybody was making a ton of money. Everybody was happy, 600 employees, and it was doing great. And then March 14th of 2000, got into a run-in with a couple of the partners, and I walked out of there pissed off and in a huff, and decided I was going to go start over and do it on my own again. And it only took me 2 years, 22 months to be exact, to lose every single dollar I had ever earned. And
wow.
That's how I got into the real estate space. I basically burnt every bridge on the way down, lost everything, got divorced. I mean, it was a horrific experience at the time. It's the best thing that ever happened to me now, but at that time, it sure as hell didn't feel like that. And so, basically I started in 2002. I saw some guy on late night infomercial talking about flipping houses and how you could go and do this with no money. And I was broke as hell. And so I went down, checked it out in West Palm Beach. And I figured out that, man, I could actually do this. I could actually flip houses without having to spend any money. And, fast forward about 18 months later, I'd already flipped 100 houses and made well north of $1 million. And get going down that road a little bit and got newly married, and had a new little girl coming on the way. And so I decided I need to turn it into a business and not a hustle anymore. Got real serious about putting automation and systems and processes in, and started relying on everything that I had learned building the other business. And, before you know it, it works. And so I was flipping hundreds and hundreds of houses a year.
That's a lot.
And
You have mostly single family, multifamily?
all single family, every one of them,
Wow.
no multifamily. And, as fate would have it, I was using a strategy that I had developed inside of the grocery business. So, when they handed me the reins of the grocery business and it was doing $800 million a year, that's a pretty mature company. And I give them a lot of credit, right? These guys that own the company and bought my company, because they knew I was young and naive and just full of crap enough to not listen to anybody. And so I brought my own style, my own, way of doing business into that organization. And what I did was I questioned everything. And one of the things that I had questioned is, why are we, when an item comes up to sell, the way that industry works is basically, it doesn't matter. It's Winn-Dixie, it's Publix, it's Safeway, whoever it is, right? They basically say, hey, we have this excess inventory. Kleenex just offered us 50 trucks of, tissue, and we can only buy 20. We want to sell the other 30. And so they would call guys like me and many others to go get rid of those products, to go sell it out the back door. And the problem is that we were all trying to sell the exact same truckloads of Kleenex. And so if you think about that for a minute, there's there's 30 trucks. We're all trying to sell the same thing, and we're all calling the exact same people. So it's a race to zero, if you really think about it. Who can pay more on one side and take less on the other, right? So you're getting punished. Right. And so what kind of revolutionized that business was when we started what we call reverse wholesaling, starting with the end in mind. And we went out and started talking to every retailer and wholesaler in the country and said, if I could sell you anything at any price and any quantity and deliver it on any day, what do you want to buy from me? Let's just start there. And the customers were suddenly dictating to us what they wanted, which made my job infinitely easier, because then I was able to go back and just, hey, screw your truckload of Kleenex. I want to buy these 20 items. Go call the manufacturer and go see what price you can give me. And I already knew what my customer wanted to buy it, or they wanted to pay me for it. So that's how we went from 800 million to 1.8 billion. So then you fast forward about 6 years. Now I'm in the real estate space, and everybody does it exactly the same way. They go and try to find a house, get it under contract, and then they try to find somebody to buy it from them. And I came up with a way where I could go and find every single buyer in any market that was paying cash. And I started marketing heavily to those people and saying, hey, if I could sell you anything at any price and any quantity, what do you want to buy? And suddenly I started selling them houses and creating opportunities where everybody else was just still trying to sell the same crap that everybody else had. And so that worked out perfectly. Timing's everything, because we're doing hundreds of houses. And of course, we all remember what happened in 2008, 2011, the entire market crashed. And when it crashed because banks didn't want to lend. Well, I just happened to be really fortunate in that the only people I was selling to were people who were paying all cash for houses.
Yeah, cash is king, right?
And so my business exploded, and then one thing led to another. And next thing you know, we're creating software to do those things. Next thing you know, I'm teaching other people how to do it. And you look up 14 years later, and now I've taught, 60,000 people how to do this, and have a successful education and mastermind and software company. And it just kind of all works out in the end, right? I mean, none of it was really planned, but basically there was a bigger plan for me. I just didn't know it. I needed to get out of what I was doing and figure it out.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's truly amazing just that this whole story you took us through, because I think another thing that a lot of people don't understand, and they'll see like, oh, well, you were raised already into an entrepreneurial family. You were raised with this, you were raised with that. And I think sometimes, some people don't understand, even being raised in certain things, there's a lot of challenges that come, and even speaking to some friends that I've had, okay, they were raised with certain opportunities, raised with this, and I've taken off some of their parents' businesses, and they'll tell me stories. They'll tell me these challenges, and it's nuts. Some of the stuff that you're like, well, I don't even know if I want to deal with that, so, I got to give it to you, because that's definitely, a journey right there, having also experienced what you went through, and then dropping off, having, to nothing, and then getting yourself back up with the real estate game. So what were some of the experiences you went through as a young adult, as a teenager, taking over or, helping manage some of your dad's businesses? How was that, because I'm sure that there are listeners out there who might be going through this, how'd you handle that? What were some of the challenges you faced? And what were the biggest learning lessons for you?
Well, a couple things. Number one, don't ever, anybody that's raised in a family business, I can tell you, well, let me back up. I'll just say it like what my experience was. My experience was I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, right? It is not easy. It is the expectations when you were raised. My father's saying to me my entire life is good isn't good when great is expected. So I was raised, yes, a byproduct of the way I was raised, that I was given the mental fortitude and the mental resilience to do whatever it took to be successful and whatever that means, right? That is a gift that I take away from all of it. Now, on the flip side of it, working for your father, working in a family business, having those heated discussions and arguments and hurt feelings and clashes, right? As you're a young man, those are brutal experiences, right? And so I can tell you, you don't want any part of that. I mean, to think that it's easier as a child being raised to that is just a complete myth. It is actually extremely difficult because the expectations of you are much, much higher. And the latitude is, of what can be said to you versus being said to another employee is night and day. And so, yeah, the lessons are, for me personally, about how I would not want to raise my kids in that kind of environment, right? Very hostile, going after, it's just a challenging environment. The flip side of that is demonstrating to your kids what it looks like to struggle, to overcome, to fight for a dream, to understand and have a front row seat to, when you're 14, 15 years old, getting exposed to financials and balance sheets and doing the right thing and customer service and taking care of the client. I mean, I had my PhD in running a business by the time I was 20 years old. And most of my friends, when I was 20, were off at college. And by the time they were 22, their asses were working for me. And so I didn't go to college.
You'd probably be able to teach a business class way better than some of these college professors who've never even started a business.
And so that's what I share with anybody that's a part of my world, my tribe, is that when you are an entrepreneur, you have an opportunity. The ripple effect of that is unbelievable, because if you really got to take a couple steps back, if my father hadn't been an entrepreneur, there's a real good chance that I wouldn't have been an entrepreneur. And so now I am here impacting millions of people. And so the ripple effect of him being an entrepreneur, which was a single decision about him and his income and his life, turns into having a profound effect on me as his child, and ultimately a profound effect on millions of people down the line. You don't ever know what this journey you're going down as an entrepreneur, where it could possibly lead. The one thing you do know is that if you have kids, or when you have kids, they're watching, right? And they're going to model what they see. And when you have a chance to demonstrate what it looks like at a very young age to struggle and overcome challenges and to have that mental toughness that is required in life, those are great lessons. Those are amazing lessons to learn as early as you possibly can, because let's face it, life's not easy. And it's certainly not easy when you go and take all the risk and become an entrepreneur. You're looking to get out there and just be a hustler. Look, there's a million ways today to make money online and offline without ever having to really put it all on the line. I'm talking about that moment when you push all in and say, I'm 150% unemployable, that I am going to be an entrepreneur and I am going to build something that matters. I'm going to create a legacy. When that commitment is made, that requires an attitude that is unlike anything else that that people will experience in their life. And to have that gift early and know you got it it's a blessing.
Powerful.
Yeah. I was having a conversation with one of my friends the other day, actually. And he's like, well, do you think that, if things didn't really work out with your business, that you could go back and work for a company? I'm like, well, one, there's no option of it not working out with my business. I got to figure it out, and two, no, there's 0% chance I could go work for someone else. Like, I can't take direction like that, without having some type of autonomy or authority within the decision-making process. But I want to bring up the point that you made about the generational transition when you do decide to be an entrepreneur. And I think that this just can be extrapolated into, pretty much anyone, right? When you talk about you as a father, and then how that's going to correlate to your children and their children. I feel like too often people shoot to become a millionaire or a billionaire, or, you know, run $1 million or $1 billion business. And it's like, if you can just move that needle, even, you know, if you can get yourself out of poverty so that your kids can have more success, and then their kids can have more success because they'll be in a better place if you teach them the right things, the right morals, the right values. How do you go about that yourself with your own kids, if you feel like sharing, you know, about, you know, because you do, obviously you were able to take over a very successful business from your father, and now you're running an even more successful business or businesses for your kids to be able to learn from and grow from potentially. When people come in and ask you like, well, you know, how did you handle that situation with your father, and, you know, what did you take away from it? How do you explain that, you know, it is really just about setting yourself up for the next generation of your family to be able to continue that success long term?
Well, number one, I take all the pressure off of them. None of my kids are obligated to do one thing in my business ever, right? If they choose to do it, they can.
Right.
But when my son went to college, I told him very directly that I'm sending you to college because you've dreamed of going to this school. And he went to Ole Miss. You've dreamed of going to this school your whole life.
Great school.
Yeah.
And I just want you to clearly understand that there is no education you're going to get there that is going to teach you how to make money or be successful in life. You're going there for the experiences. You're collecting the moments. You're collecting the relationships. You're absorbing life at this point in your life when you can. But there's no pressure here for you to walk out of there and fundamentally understand how to go and create something, right? But when you're ready to do that, I'll show you how to do that. And that is the same advice I give to my two young daughters now, right? That are 15 and 7, is that you can have any experience in life if you want. If you want to go to college and get all that experience, if you want to travel the world, you can make any of your dreams come true that you want to. When you're ready to understand how to control your destiny from a financial situation, go and create, if you choose to, create the business of your dreams, or whatever it is, the career of your dreams. I will show you, and I'll clear the path and show you how that's done. I'm not going to do it for you, but I will show you how to do that. Now those are the conversations. More importantly, is the demonstrations. Right. So my kids, it'd be really simple for me at this point in my life to take my foot off the gas, and I just don't. And not for any other reason, is that I have to remind myself every day that my kids are watching me, right? And they will do exactly what they see me doing. It is important to me that they see me in every area of life, right? Going out and trying to create impact in other people, and waking people up, rattling their cages, showing them what's really possible, giving them the tools to be successful if they choose to do that. Going on and exploring the world and soaking up life. That's how you demonstrate to people what's really possible, especially your kids, right? I want to excite their imaginations every single day, to know that not only what is possible, and because they've seen it and they've felt it, they've tasted it, but that they know that the tools are there more now than ever for them to make it real. Right? What I think most entrepreneurs are, let's just back up. I'm not even going to call them entrepreneurs. Most wannabe entrepreneurs, most hustlers, most people kind of getting in the game a little bit. They see something on social media, whatever the case may be, right? We live in an age where you can rent a Lamborghini and do a photo shoot in front of a jet.
That's true.
Yeah, that's Miami in a nutshell.
Right? Yeah. What they believe is a false sense of reality, right? And so, what they fail to understand, and the most successful ones get this, the most that fall out don't, is that it all ends and begins right here, right in your head, right? What's going on between your ears? If you don't have a good mental foundation, understanding, what your core beliefs are, why I'm doing what I'm doing, what is it I stand for, what do I stand against, what I believe in so passionately I'd be willing to fight and die for it. That mental toughness is the beginning and in the foundation for everything. Because if you're not passionate about it, and you're not in love with it, and you're not in love with the process, if you're not in love with getting hit in the face hard, right, and getting knocked down and knowing that you've got what it takes to get up, then just stop, right? If you're looking for get rich quick, if you're looking to go press a button that's going to start magically raining money, you're not fit to be an entrepreneur. I mean, go to work for somebody else, because it's never going to happen. If you have to have so much going on in your heart and in your head, feeding your mind what it takes to be mentally strong enough to get in there and fight and be so passionate about it that you're just not willing to ever give up, right? Those words, I choose my words very, very deliberately. I'm not talking about, hey, I'm going to give up and then maybe I'll get back in. I'm talking, you never, ever give up, period, right? That unless that is where your head's at, or then you got work to do. You need to go get it where your head is like that. You need to find something you're that passionate about, and that's what you need to do. Everything else will never satisfy you. And when you have that, success is a foregone conclusion.
I got to say that it's like everything you just said and shared. It's funny because it's just like most of the reasons why people can't even apply a system or even get something moving, or if they do and then stop, and it all goes back to that mindset, that mindset that's driven in place every single day, engraved, and gets you moving to do what you got to do. And it's just like, it's one of those things where it's like, I even told myself, and going back, like hearing you with how you are with your kids, I have a little one, she's 18 months and it's a little girl, and it's like all the time, it's just like, it reminds me and it makes me put myself on my toes to try to be the best version I can, and just try to move, and not try, but move every day because of that, and be that example, like you were saying. And it's a true motivator. And then, obviously having the mindset to really push through those tough times, because even then, I even with some of my clients, I tell them all the time, when I work with them, you got to have that bulletproof mindset, because, you're going to get a taste of this and that's great. But when you start climbing that ladder up again, you're going to hit what? You're going to hit a floor, and that floor is going to be a plateau. And to get to that next level of success, whether it's, okay, you're making 10, now you want to make 20 a month. Well, that's a different level of mindset. If you don't have that mindset, your fears, your doubts, your beliefs are all going to creep up on you, and they're going to try to crush you. And if you don't have that strong mindset, you're not going to get to that next, stairs to go up to that next floor. And the same thing goes on and on. It's just like, I just feel more and more, like you were saying, a lot of people want the quick, buy-in, the quick return, the instant gratification. And you seeing so many individuals just want to call themselves entrepreneur, get a fake car, do this, sell something that doesn't even work, pretending as if they are. Talking about that, what is your best way, and what's your best advice for those true hustlers who have the grit, the passion to want to become successful entrepreneurs? What's the best way to vet out a lot of the crap that's going on today? And what's the best direction you can give to them to be able to align themselves with the right people that can actually truly mentor them, help them, coach them, whatever you want to call it, to help them go the direction that they need to go?
Do your due diligence, right? Understand who you are, who you are aligning yourself with. If they are not living the life that you desire to live in a way that is profound, where they are demonstrating to you, right? It's not one picture. It's not a series of pictures. Like, you have taken the time to understand who they are and what they stand for. And when you do that, look, let me back up. It's really simple in my mind, to understand who speaks authentically and who is full of crap. We all see them. We all know who, and there's a reason why they are as successful as they are. The people who speak authentically, they come from experience. They have the scars that matter. They will share their failures as much as they'll share their success. They've been in business longer than 6 months. They didn't just pop up out of nowhere. I mean, common sense tells you, if you'll just watch and do more than 11 seconds of research, you will know very quickly on whether this is right or wrong. We have this amazing ability as human beings, this sixth sense, this intuition, our subconscious, that when somebody is speaking to us authentically and passionately, and we understand, it's not even, one of the things I tell people all the time, it's much more about context than it is about content. In other words, when the right person is talking to you, it almost doesn't even matter what the words that are coming out of their mouth. You just know it's right. Like, this is my person. I get this. I understand the way this person ticks. I understand they're speaking to my soul. That is your subconscious, your core influence, where and again, you just know equally, you know the other side. When the person is saying all the right words, but you just know they're full of shit. You just know that it's what's going on.
We were
right?
literally just talking about
Yeah.
this. Yeah, we were literally
I mean,
just
you
talking
just
about
know.
this.
And so your intuition, your gut is more times than not trained to do this correctly. And so when somebody is being authentic and they are speaking to your heart and soul and they're getting in your core and they're giving you chills and they understand what's going on in you and they're highly relatable, that's probably a really good sign that you're on the right path. Now, with that being said, I will tell you that the most important thing that I would always tell any entrepreneur when there are any, hustlers, you call them earlier, that they're trying to get into is they always want to know what's the quick fix or the quick hit or whatever.
The magic pill.
Yeah. The very first thing you invest in is yourself.
Yep.
Period. If you are not equipped to be an entrepreneur, that is the first task you have to handle, because most of us, 99%, I would argue, of the people in the world are not equipped. They are being trained on a daily basis, by the way. They are being trained in 15-second increments on social media, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, doesn't matter. YouTube. They are being trained by the media. They are being trained to think in these little short spurts, right? And that is not the real world of being an entrepreneur, not even freaking close, right? And so they are being trained. Hopefully everybody that's listening has to understand that whether you like it or not, at a subconscious level, you are being trained on a daily basis to look for instant gratification, to look for this instant dopamine hit. And that is not what it is like to be an entrepreneur at all. It is a struggle. It is getting your teeth kicked in. It is hard work, but it is something you're passionate about. You're building a legacy. You're building a life. You clearly understand, like the sign says behind me, that the time is now. The clock is ticking, right? And that you have one opportunity in life to make the most of it. And it isn't about collecting things, and it isn't about collecting crap. It's about collecting moments. It's about soaking up everything you possibly can out of life and making the most of it. And so until your mind and is right, that is almost impossible to do. Because what happens if your mind isn't right, you jump into something. It's actually the worst case scenario, by the way, is you jump into something with horrible expectations that something's going to happen in 30, 60, or 90 days. And if it doesn't, I'm going to just go back running home to mama. That is a dream killer. You've reinforced a belief at that moment that you're not good enough. You're not cut out for this. And that immediately will snatch your dreams right away from you, and you will be destined to work for somebody else for the rest of your life. So if you're serious about it, you get aligned with the right people, you feed your mind the right stuff, you take everything that goes into your ears and eyes very, very seriously. It's not about finding anything. It's about create the life you want. And it is totally possible, but you have to really, really be super serious about it. I use an analogy, and it's just true, but if I came to you guys today and I said, and I'm sure you guys have experienced the same thing, but if I came to you guys to say and say, hey, guys, I'm really serious about being an MMA fighter. I've watched every YouTube video out there. I've read every book. I've listened to every podcast. Think I'm ready. Let's go. Right? Put me in a championship fight. You guys would be like, dude, I don't know what you're smoking, but
Have you taken the hits?
Yeah. Have you been punched in the face yet? Because
been kicked in the jaw?
that's
But-
the first step.
And you would be right to think that, right?
Right.
But that's the way people approach being an entrepreneur. Like, well, I've read all the books. I've downloaded all the free information. Well,
Yep.
Did you actually get in the ring? Did you actually get choked out, get knocked in the face, break a few bones? Did you go a couple rounds and then rebound and go back to a coach in your corner and say, hey, did you see this? Did you see that? Watching film. Did you do any of the things that is actually required to be a champion? Because reading books, listening to podcasts, watching videos will never do that. You got to get in there and get hit, and you got to get hit. You got to get knocked out, and you got to get back up. And that's business, baby. When you're ready to do that, then you're serious. If you're not, get out of the way.
So do you think it could be a lot of people are scared to just put in the application from what they're learning?
Of course.
Yeah.
They're being sold crap online. They're being sold There are hundreds of platforms and millions of people that are all too happy to sell somebody the magic pill crap show, right? It is what it is.
Yeah.
And they don't offer it up because somebody ain't buying. They're offering it up because buyers are everywhere. Nobody wants to do the work. I mean, you guys are in the fitness space. How many people have you ever had that say, I want to get fit? Well, it's going to require you to restrict or change your diet, get in the gym every day, drink a gallon of water, do the cardio. And they're like, maybe not. Right?
Yeah.
Let me go get some surgery.
Yeah, I had a client the other day that was like, this whole quarantine, we started working out again, but I'm not seeing the results I want. Okay, well, one, how many days a week are you exercising when you're not with me? Because you're training with me twice a week. Well, maybe one day. Okay, well, start right there. You need to move more. Two, what are you doing with your diet? What did you eat for dinner last night? Well, we ordered pizza. Okay, there's your answer. I'm not your babysitter. You still have to go out and change your life. Like I can, Mendez says this all the time very well. We're just the GPS, right? You still have to drive the car.
Right.
I can't spoon feed you or slap the piece of pizza out of your hand and give you a salad. Like if you're going to order something, order a salad, or if you're going to have pizza, maybe don't have 4 slices, have 1, let's start somewhere, but you have to get started, and I think a big part of it goes back to what you were mentioning earlier, right? Is if you're not prepared and you haven't gone through those reps to understand, what's really going to be expected of you or what you can expect, all of these limiting beliefs that you have in your head are going to come back into fruition, right? And they're going to be the thing that stops you because you don't understand that like now for me and Mendez and I have talked about this many times off the podcast is, when I get myself into a situation that I know I have to get myself out of, and those beliefs start coming in like, oh, you're not good enough. Like if I go into a sale and I have to make the sale and like, oh, this person's not going to want to buy, or this isn't. If I've gone through those reps, I can check myself in the moment and say, fuck those beliefs. Like I can do this. I know this person needs this. Let me figure out a way to get them to understand that themselves. But if you don't get through those reps, if you don't go through the process yourself, then those beliefs are going to take hold. And that's what's really going to stop you.
By the way, we all have that, right?
Oh, 100%.
But what the successful people in my world have figured out,
that
right?
switch.
And is that, everybody has fears, right? If I was going to share a couple things with you guys, it would be one, to every listener needs to understand that clearly, like the most successful people in the world still have fear. Mm-hmm. And it is very profound in their life, right? Their fear is different though. My fear is different. Your fears are different. I don't fear failure at all. I've been there. I know. To your point, I've had the reps. I've got knocked down many more times than I've ever, I've been, failed many more times than I've ever been successful, right? My successes have been amazing, but if I was going to put numbers on a board, for sure, I've gotten knocked down and had more failures than I've had success. So I don't fear failure, but I do fear regret. And this is my shot. This is everybody's shot. Whether you like it or not, the clock is ticking, baby. Yep. We all have, nobody gets out alive, right? We all have the same affliction. Everybody's going to die, period. And it can be the greatest motivator in your life when you figure out that this is my one shot. Whether I'm 25 or 50 or 32 or 65, it doesn't matter. I got a very finite amount of time left on this planet, but I get a choice in what every single one of those days looks like. Now I can sit around and play the victim and act like I have no control, and that's fine. You're going to get exactly what you deserve. Or I can step up and fear regret. What's going to change in my life if I don't do this, right? There's nobody's going to do this. Nobody's coming to rescue you.
That's right.
Yeah. Go get it, baby. It's there. There's nothing unique about you guys. There's nothing unique about me. The only difference between us and other people that are out there that are not wildly successful is what's going on in our heart and what's going on in our head. The conversations that we have with ourselves are different. Like, I know. And what you'll find is that most of the people that get knocked down and have those things, what they're really focusing on, and you guys will, if you're, think about it for a minute, any of those times where you get off track, what's happening is you are losing sight. You always focus on one of two things when it comes to a problem. You're either focused on the opportunity or you're focused on the obstacle, right? And when you focus on the obstacle, it's all the reasons shit can't happen. That's when stuff gets tough. But every time, if you think about it, every time you've overcome something and you've built something, putting this podcast up, starting your businesses, doing everything, you are so focused on the opportunity of what could be that the obstacles are irrelevant.
Right.
But if you sat back and actually thought about this, well, I don't even know how to start a podcast. I don't know how to, what are the right mics? What are this? I mean, it's overwhelming, right? Instead, you're just like, no, you know what? I don't care. We'll figure it out. Let's go. First show's next week. Let's go.
That's literally what we did.
No, literally. And I love that you brought that up, because it's like, I even tell people all the time, like, where I come across, well, you got to do what you love. And if you don't love it, you shouldn't do it, because you got to always feel happy when you do it. And I'm like, guys, you got to understand that when you love something so much, you're willing to do the shit in it that you don't like, so you can get that lovable result you want every time, because you've loved that so much. I don't care if it's the thing you love the most in your life. There's going to be shit that you got to do that you don't want to do.
Yeah. I mean, look at me. I have to spend a couple hours every day with him, It's
But if you find yourself, when you're in those situations, if you'll switch the mindset to focusing on the opportunity, you'll see that a lot more of the obstacles just kind of fade away. Like, man, this is such a big deal. Like, this is my life. This is, there's no nobility in going broke slowly and making somebody else rich, right? Go for it.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And also too, like, I think another thing you brought up, it's so important to understand too, like, nothing's given to you, and it's just like, I always say, like, the moment you enter this world, it's just like you enter the world not deserving anything. You gotta go out there and earn it, and I think a lot of people feel that entitlement, or feel like they deserve, or feel like, but I should have this, or why not me? And it's just like one of those things where you see it happen so often, especially with, like we were saying, the social medias and, the instant gratifications and all these things that are being put in their face. And it's like, why not? Or I should have that. I should have this. Just to ask you, I'm not sure I don't know if you've seen it or not. I forgot the name of the movie, but that new movie that came out, talking about social media.
Social Dilemma.
Social Dilemma. Yeah, I've seen it. Yep, I saw it.
What's your thoughts on that and your takes on that?
I mean, it's interesting that how many of them have regrets looking back, right? The people that kind of put all these systems and processes in place, and that it's funny that nobody ever, just because they could, nobody ever thought whether or not they should. And so I think today in society, we're paying a heavy price for a lot of the stuff that happens online. I think there's more division now than at any other time in my life, for sure. But it's a fact of the world that we live in today. I think what you see online, you have to understand that it is being spoon-fed to you for one thing, and to keep you there. And the more of it that you engage in that's not healthy, good content, feeding your mind correctly, it is absolutely doing the opposite. It is somehow shaping your mind and making you feel powerless. And that's the name of the game. If you want to know how to get elected, or you want to know how to sell media, then just go flash up, headlines and clickbait that'll absolutely suck people in. That's the job.
A whole bunch of influencers.
Yeah, that's the job. That's what they do. And so when you understand that you are just a pawn on a big game board with billions of people that are being moved around at somebody else's will, you'll quickly, if that doesn't piss you off, it should. Yeah. And you'll start to take it a lot more seriously. You get to decide what your future looks like. It does not have to be decided by subconscious psychological tricks that are being played on you to keep you glued to your phone, engaging in a voyeuristic vantage point, looking at somebody else's life and living vicariously through them, which in all likelihood isn't even real.
Yeah, no, definitely not. It's curated, right? It's just a curated glimpse into something.
I can tell you that, one of the most powerful things that I got the opportunity to do a few years ago is I got the chance to go to Haiti. And when I went to Haiti, it was very, very humbling for me. I mean, it's the poorest nation in the Western Hemisphere, one of the poorest nations in the world. I mean, it's so poor, there is no economy. Everything is effectively by barter. And I saw what real poverty looks like. Well, I saw what real desperate situations look like. Kids in orphanages and and, people just wandering the streets, trying to just go through life, right? Just trying to exist. And so when you talked about earlier, and that's when you talk about that people are playing the role of the victim, those are real victims, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are real people that are trying to figure out how to get on top of the world. If you have air in your lungs and blood running through your heart, and you can stand on your own 2 feet and read and write and get access to online education or listen to podcasts like this, and live in this country, no less.
That's right.
You are in such an elite position, comparatively speaking, to the rest of the world. And to not wake up and be extremely grateful for that and realize that anybody in that country, by the way, anybody in, there's, what is it? Last time I checked, there were 3 billion people in the world that don't even have access to clean water.
Yeah,
Right?
something like that.
Crazy.
And so to think about it and really gain some perspective and understand that all things considered, you're so far ahead of the game. It's one of those comments where you're just like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like,
just being born here. Just being born here. You're
being born here at this time, in this moment, in this situation, in this opportunity, and you want to piss and moan about it? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You just have to, you got to understand that, and those are healthy conversations to have with yourself, because any of those 3 billion people, anybody in Haiti, by the way, would trade places with you in a second. Give them your worst day, the worst day you've ever had in your life. Give it to them, and it's their best day.
Yeah.
And so to sit around and act like you're somehow a victim is just back to my whole comment earlier. It's just the bullshit that's going on in between your ears.
So Ken, I got to ask you, hearing all this, which I think it's tremendous awareness for a lot of people out there and listening and just letting this, absorb into them. Where do you think things are going down the road? The way things are advancing, the way things are moving, social media, all the stuff, some of the stuff we talked about, the mindsets of individuals in the world we live in. Where do you think things are headed to? And what kind of changes would you like to see with some of these things?
I think if you are I think that, let me take a step back. I think that if you are a mindless moron and can be easily manipulated, and you don't take more than 5 minutes to go and do your own research and understand that there are always multiple sides, multiple angles to look at every social or economic or climate issue that's out there, any issue, period, political, it doesn't matter, right? Nothing is one way or the other. And that I think if you are a person that does not understand that and does not take the time, which quite frankly, unfortunately, is most people, then I think that whether it's social media, politicians, corporations, or media companies, that there's a dangerous game being played, and it is basically dividing us up into tribes on a daily basis, if not on a minute-by-minute basis, right? People identify themselves as red or blue. They identify themselves as, LGBTQ or not. They were pro BLM or not. I mean, everybody wants to be, there is no middle ground anymore. And as somebody who absolutely plays in the middle ground, because I'm, educated and I'm unwilling to allow somebody else to manipulate me, I find myself feeling like I am definitely in the minority for sure. I understand that most issues are not black and white. I understand that very few, just go and get into a discussion with your wife or your family or anybody else, and you'll figure out real quick that it's never one way or the other. There's always something in the middle, right?
Good way to put it.
And so not being willing to debate people, not being willing to hear other sides of the argument, not being willing to educate yourself, not being, getting all of your news or all of your information from one side is extremely, extremely dangerous. Now, with that said, that's the con. The pro is that these technologies and these platforms have made it more accessible than ever to get good quality information, to get good quality training, to get access to podcasts like this, and give guys like us the ability to reach millions of people where that would have been impossible 10 years ago. We live in a time where it's never been easier to go start a business online. I mean, if you can go sell clothes right out of your closet on Poshmark tomorrow. If you're in the craft business, you can go be on Etsy the next day. You can go put stuff on Facebook Marketplace and make a few bucks. There's so many quick ways to make money today. Nobody should be broke. Yep. If you're broke, it goes back to point number one. You're just not educating yourself.
Love that.
And so there are major cons to all this. Of course, the pros are that technology is making it easier than ever for entrepreneurs that are willing to pay a price. They can get in there and get results much, much quicker than I could have ever gotten when I started in business almost 30 years ago, right? There is no need for infrastructure. I mean, think about how fast you can put up a Shopify store. Think about how fast you can build a funnel on ClickFunnels. Think about how fast you can go, like I said, all of these different things. You can go, and if you're a freelancer, you can go on freelance sites and immediately sell your services so quickly. I mean, these platforms are amazing. And that to me is extremely exciting. If you want to educate yourself and get really valuable content that can help shape your life, it's at your fingertips. You're walking around with it in your pocket every day. If you want to be a content producer, if you feel like you have a message, you're walking around with a camera and a platform in your pocket every day. So yeah, as much as there's negative for sure, there's so many positives that I think that outweigh all of it. You just have to understand that, again, when you go back to that movie, The Social Dilemma, you have to understand that there's a game that's being played behind the scenes. And unless you are very, very aware, you're the game piece.
Yep. Yeah. And it always blows my mind too when people are like, well, I just don't have the time. It's like, no, you're not making the time.
Right.
We all have the same 24 hours in a day. You do, and you were able to, build out a $1 billion business.
Right.
What makes anyone else different? You have the same 24 hours that we do. If we want to get to where you're at, then we have to work harder. We have to do our research. It's just about, like you said, taking 10 minutes, which seems like an astronomical amount of time when you're wasting a bunch of time. But when you're really directed and you're really intentional about the time that you are using, 10 minutes is an enormous amount of time in a beneficial way.
Well, I'm really good friends with Ed Milet, right? And
amazing guy.
Yeah. One of the things he shared recently with my tribe that I thought was amazing, right? He talks about how he basically lives 3 24-hour days in a single day. He divides his days into 8-hour segments, right? And so it is basically the longest he has a minute. All of his meetings are arranged in either 8 minutes or 24 minutes. He is extremely, extremely efficient with his time. And so if you think about that, what would take you and I a year to accomplish, he's effectively, or in 3 years to accomplish, he's getting it done in a year. He is squeezing more out every single day than most of us. Certainly he's sleeping, he's meditating. He is just extremely dialed in on how to be very, very efficient with his days. And there's no doubt why he's considered, he's worth close to $500 million. He's not even 50 years old. I mean, he lives in a huge, enormous, great life and gets to impact millions and millions of people while he does this, by the way. While he's running really successful businesses, he's also creating a shit ton of content and sharing it with the world. You look at somebody like Elon Musk. Don't tell me you don't have time, right? Mm-hmm. Here's a guy in his lifetime that has created PayPal and then starts Tesla. And then, oh, by the way, SpaceX, and then the Boring Company, and now Neuralink. And now, it's like, holy shit. That is the story you tell yourself that justifies your mediocrity. That's all it is.
I always kick myself in the ass that I didn't pick up one of those flamethrowers. Oh, sorry, not a flamethrower. But it's so true, right? It's like people are constantly looking for these excuses, these outs, right? That kind of take some of the blame or take all the blame off of them and their actions, right? And put them onto someone else. Like, oh, well, my mom stayed, like she kept talking on the phone and I wasn't able to cut her off. Like, well, you could have cut her off. Yeah. Like you could have said, like, listen, I got to get back to work. I got to do this thing. We'll talk about this later. You decided not to, which, in that scenario, maybe you need to take that time with your family member.
Well, and I'll give you something that I share with, my tribe a lot, is that when you change, here's what you have to keep in mind. The words that come out of your mouth are extremely powerful. right? I say it a lot that you speak your future, because you tell yourself every day what's possible and what's not possible, because every word that comes out of your mouth, there's always one person listening, and that's you. And so when you use words like, I wasn't able to do this because of XYZ, or I can't do that, the easiest way to change your outcome is to change your language. Instead of saying can't, or just saying I wasn't able to, right? Just change it to what the truth is, because that's lazy language. That's not what you mean. What you mean is, I chose not to. I choose not to. This is a choice that I'm making, right? I can't go to the gym. I choose. No, we say that all day long. I can't, I don't have time. I can't go to the gym. That's an easy thing to say because it just makes it okay. Right. Sounds a lot different when you say, I don't think I can make enough time. I think I'm choosing not to go to the gym today. That doesn't feel good. Or it certainly doesn't feel good to the person that's super congruent. Because then now it's like, oh man, I'm making a choice right here. And that's not really a choice I want to make. If you want to change your behavior, change the way you speak to yourself, and start speaking to yourself honestly and authentically. And what will happen is it won't feel comfortable. Own the decision, own the outcome. And all of a sudden you'll be like, wow, okay, I gotta change something here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think, we're almost at an hour here, man. It's been an amazing time talking to you. I think that your message right there is a great way to wrap things up. I know Menda's going to have one more question for you before we wrap things up, but where can people find you? Where can they, buy your products, learn more about your products? Obviously, you're doing amazing things out there.
I'm easy, man. It's at Kent Clothier on Instagram, same on Facebook, or just go to kentclothier.com. It's CLOTHIER. Not hard to find, and happy to help anybody I possibly can.
Awesome, man. I like that new tattoo, by the way.
Thanks, brother. Just got it. And it says mediocrity is the enemy.
Bam. That's a great one.
I gotta start thinking about what I feel like. I got Josh over here.
Yeah, I'm all tatted up. I got 28.
Guys, I'm like, damn, I don't have any tats.
I've been pressuring
thinking
him.
of one.
I've been pressuring him. Like, come on, man, we'll just go. I don't know if Jenny will like that though.
It's funny because Jenny, she has tons of tattoos through here. Like, it's funny because she'll walk, you can't even tell, but underneath in her arm, she does. But she's like, babe, I've thought about it. Like, I prefer you not getting, I like you like this. And I'm laughing, I'm like, thinking, I was like, hold up. And now she's like, babe.
Exactly.
I'm like, wait. I was like, you have this, you have that. And now she's even thinking, she's like, I want to get our little ones, our baby girl, Stella, because she has her other daughter. She has an 11-year-old, so she has her name on her forearm. And she's like, I want to get her Stella's, and then I want to get this bird. And I'm laughing, and I'm like, okay. So I was like, if I ever wanted to, it's not, it's just, I met you like this, and I was like, well, what's wrong with me getting a tat? I don't know, but we'll see.
I'll pressure in one day.
Right? As long as she doesn't kill me,
Yeah.
I don't know. I've also learned happy wife, happy life. But
That's the truth. That's the truth.
No doubt.
But I wanted to ask you, kind of based off the last thing we finished off. I think it's so powerful because I think it's one of those things where I tell people you can't give your brain the amount of time to get you out of something, because your brain is so smart. It's going to figure out the easiest way out to get you out of a situation, even if the situation is going to serve you purpose because it's uncomfortable. But your brain is designed to do that. It's designed to give you comfort, to not put you through pain. It's doing its job. I want to know, what is one of the biggest tools you use for yourself and your team to really flip that switch on the brain where you need to do something, you don't give enough time for it to even think about that?
Well, to your point, you have to one, understand the way your brain, to your point, is designed to work, right? The analytical side of your brain is designed to do one thing: survive, right? Just make it where you don't die in every sense of that word. So it is designed, to your point, to keep you really comfortable. When you realize that, you'll realize quickly that means that anytime you want to grow, anytime you want to do something, anytime you want to get fit, anytime you want to build a business, anytime you want to learn something new, it's naturally going to work against you, period, right? And so first is understanding that that's going on. Second is taking that really, really seriously and recognizing and embracing the struggle and understanding that, man, when I'm stressing the brain, or I'm stressing the situation, that growth, again, going back to the perfect analogy being the gym, when I'm sore or when I'm pushing myself and I'm doing what I'm doing, I've trained myself to understand that that's the good stuff. Like, that's when I feel my most powerful. Although I might be at my weakest because I'm hurting, the reality of it is I crave that now. And the same can be true in every area of your life. Nothing is ever worth having that you're not going to have to work for. You're not going to have to go through some level of pain or discomfort to get to. That's just the natural way we work, right? It's not easy to go learn a new language. It's not easy to start a business. It's not easy to go get fit. It's not easy to stop smoking. None of this is easy, but it doesn't make it any less worth doing. And so the association has to be made. And again, your brain is designed to do this. As soon as your brain starts making that association, it is designed to create the synapses to make those associations quick for you, right? But you have to train it to do that. You have to create that habit. Understanding the biology and chemistry of the way your body actually works, not just from a physical standpoint of getting in shape, but the way your mind actually works from a business or from a relationship standpoint, is super, super important. Because if you understand that your brain is just trying to create these short circuits, right? Get me to the result I'm looking for as fast as I can. Just like Google, when you type it in there, Google is designed to get you there, to go as fast as it can to get you what you're looking for. Your brain is designed to do the same thing. But your brain has been designed to do that now over however many years you've been alive. Hey, when he says this or he wants this, we take him to this direction. You're trying to break that. And you're trying to say, I want this to be the new association. I want this to be the new outcome. And so that will take time. That requires you to be very, very diligent in feeding your mind the right things. Very, very diligent in speaking your future. Very, very diligent in taking action every single day, even if it's small, to get you a result. And when you get the result, the last thing I'll share is you celebrate all wins. Because what that does, hey, I ran an advertising campaign to go get new clients. I spent $50 on Facebook and I got 3 applications, okay? Most people would look at that and say, oh, it's for my first thing. I thought I was going to get 10. I only got 3. This sucks. What am I going to, okay. No. Flip it. I did something new. I got an application. Let's celebrate, baby. Yep. Right? Because what that's doing is your brain is designed that I want the dopamine hit. I want that hit to recognize, oh, that's a win. Something happened here that I experienced something that I've never experienced before. That's a win. And that's how you start rewiring your brain to crave more and more and more of those wins over and over and over. And that's the path. When you start going down that path, again, feed your mind the right stuff, speak your future, get the information and take action, and then celebrate the wins, big and small, all the way, right? All the way down the line. You are slowly rewiring your brain to understand what it looks like to be successful in life.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. That's amazing. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you one more time, Ken, for coming on. We appreciate you sharing your experiences, your story. Tons of people are going to get a lot of benefit from this, including us. So,
hey, man, thanks for having me here, guys.
Appreciate you. Come back on.
Yeah.
Be more than happy.
Anytime.
Hey, man, I'm here anytime you want to do it. Let's hook up soon.
Awesome, man. Sounds good. See you guys later.
Peace.